Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's Iran Program Senior Director and the Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Behnam, welcome to Washington Watch. Glad you made it.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me, and apologies for the technical difficulties.
Hey, listen, we all understand the devil lives in technology, it seems sometimes, but we're glad to have you. All right, so walk us through some of the latest developments, what's happening with the meetings. They're kind of up and down, in and out. What's going on? What's the latest?
Well, I, for one, I'm glad that the U.S. has taken a step back at this. We were in between round 3 and round 4 of direct or indirect, depending on who you believe, the Iranians or the Americans, nuclear talks. Round 4. Hello?
You're on.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Round
going.
4 of the U.S. Of the nuclear talks were supposed to be scheduled for May 3rd, it seems like, but the Iranians are saying that there was an American renegotiation at the last minute. The Americans are saying that they never committed after round 3. Round 3 was a very important round because there was technical talks, not just political talks. But from the outset, President Trump has been quite clear that he won't let the Islamic Republic of Iran get a nuclear weapon, and he's looking to do this as peacefully as possible. Now, most unfortunately, the government of the Islamic Republic is trying to turn President Trump's deal-making instincts against him and trying to turn President Trump's penchant for being a peacemaker against him and run the clock on these negotiations. So that's why I said this brief stall, this brief diplomatic flare-up that we have that has delayed round 4 of nuclear talks to what many are alleging could be May 7 or May 8 is indeed an opportunity to step back, because the more the U.S. has been desiring to engage or being seen as engaging, it's actually been undercutting its own position. And I'll tell you why, because President Trump has brought back the maximum pressure campaign against the Islamic Republic. It was remarkably successful in term 1. It has the potential to be more than successful in term 2. But by being seen as wanting a deal, the U.S. talking points has undermined some of its own sanctions, such that the Iranian currency, the rial, has actually appreciated rather than depreciated relative to the U.S. dollar, about 20% since these conversations have been going on.
Interesting. Well, I think point well taken what you said. Pulling back is probably a position of strength for the United States in all of this. And when you add to all the mix, Iran's support of the Houthis right now is a huge issue with this. In fact, our Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that they will pay a huge consequence. And the president echoed that on Truth Social, agreeing with Hegseth. So what do you think of all this? What do you think they're talking about, and how is this going to impact the negotiations, you think?
Well, I, for one, actually think that at this point in time, given the weakness of Iran's regional situation, you basically had the Israelis over the past year and a half neuter Iran's terrorist proxies to the north of Israel, that's Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Iran's terrorist proxies to the south of Israel, that's Hamas in Gaza. And then you also had the collapse of Iran's only state ally in the Middle East, that's the Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria. And now you got President Trump and Pete Hegseth and the whole U.S. military under the auspices of CENTCOM using military force preemptively and in a big way against the Houthis in Yemen. And so all of this means that there's a real credible military option on the table, and that the U.S. can actually connect the dots here between terror-sponsoring state and actual terror group, or terror patron and terror proxy. Whereas for about 20 years, the Iranians benefited from this smokescreen of, no, these are local terrorists. And I think President Trump is rightly connecting the dots here, because it's been the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran that has put state-level military capabilities into the hands of non-state actors like the Houthis, which have essentially allowed the regime in Tehran to not just project power in one critical waterway, which is close to it, the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf, but now a second critical waterway where lots of energy and other trade goes through, which is the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. And they're doing it through these long-range strike capabilities, these drones, these missiles. And the Houthis today are the only proxy of the Islamic Republic of Iran to have actually used anti-ship ballistic missiles. And they're the only force thus far in history to be live firing anti-ship ballistic missiles at actual targets. So this regime is breaking history and breaking norms as we speak.
Wow. So, last question. Our time's running out, but what, considering all the negotiations so far, let's start there. So far between the U.S. and Iran, do you expect? Are you anticipating that there will actually be progress made in their nuclear program?
If you're meeting Iran's nuclear program, unfortunately, the Ayatollah's hand is still on the throttle, and one of their tools to build leverage in these nuclear talks is to continue to escalate their nuclear program. So in the short to medium term, until we have a full resumption and escalation of the maximum pressure campaign, I would expect the Iranian nuclear program, unfortunately, to continue to grow. If President Trump is successful in wielding his credible military threat and newfound economic leverage against the regime, then you actually do stand a chance of being able to do that very, very necessary thing, which is to not just kick the can down the road with respect to this nuclear program, but to actually work to dismantle it.
Very interesting. Well, listen, we're going to be keeping a pulse on this, and I want to thank you, Behnam Ben Taleblu, Iran Program Senior Director and Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, for joining us today on Washington Watch and trying to break down this very complicated issue. We appreciate it a great deal. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bless you. Have a good weekend.